All right, our next card is going to be the difference of squares. So it's a binomial, so it's two terms, and we're going to have a checklist of what we're looking for this specific type. It's kind of a formula of how we're going to be factoring it. And our problem that we're going to be looking at is 81 x squared minus 36 y to the fourth. All right, so our checklist is that we want all exponents to be even. That's really quick to check. So I have exponents of 2 and 4. Those are even numbers. I don't have any letters that don't have exponents, which would be an exponent of 1, which isn't even. So all my exponents are even. I need to have one minus sign, so one negative. And I have the negative in between. If it's not in between, I do want to move the terms so that it would be in between the two terms. And then all my coefficients are perfect squares. And we have the reminder of all our perfect squares. So like 1 times 1 is 1, 2 times 2 is 4, 3 times 3 is 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, and 144. Most people are really good with that. That's through 12 squared. You really should go up to 20 squared. Yet again, we do have the reminder if we need it, but you should be recognizing that, hey, this might be one of those numbers that I know that's a perfect square. So the rest of the perfect squares that you should know are 169, 196, 225, 256, 289, 361, and then 400. And then we follow those hundreds, go with the same pattern. So 400, 900, 1600, and so forth. So then we're going to write our steps. Okay, so my first step is to check for GCF. It is good practice to always see if there's something I can pull out of every term before I try to factor it, because I either have to check for the GCF right away at the front and make things smaller, or I will have to check all of my answers and pull out GCFs then at the very end. You still should check at the end, but you will make your life a little bit easier by pulling out the GCF, get it into the habit of saying, is there some way I can make all of these terms smaller before I get started? So this problem does follow my checklist. I do have coefficients that are perfect squares, both 81 and 36, and my exponents are even, and I have my 1 minus sign. But I do know that both 81 and 36 are divisible by 3. And actually, not just 3. 3 is not the biggest number that I can divide by, but I could actually pull 9 out of both of them. So I would do my GCF with all of that, and then I'm going to pull that out and look at a smaller problem. So I've showed my factors. I do have 3's in both of those lists, but the 9 is the biggest number that I can pull out of both of them. So I've divided my 9 out of both terms, wrote my GCF in front of my parentheses, and now what I'm really going to be factoring is 9x squared minus 4y to the fourth. Looking at my coefficients, they're still perfect squares, so it's still going to be doable for what I'm doing. Like I said, I could have just broken down following the formula with the 81 and the 36, but smaller numbers are always easier. So our next step will be to make 2 sets of parentheses. One is going to get a plus sign and one is going to get a minus sign in the middle. All right, so I still have that 9 hanging out in front of my parentheses. I've made my 2 parentheses with room to write my terms in, what I'm going to break things down to. One with a plus, one with a minus. I like to have the plus first because the minus one I might have to break down more if it's still a difference of squares when we're all said and done. So now the third step is we are going to list in the perfect squares. So we're going to do the perfect squares of the coefficients, and we're going to take the exponents and divide them by 2. So what's in the front of the binomial is going to be in the front of the parentheses. What's in the back of the binomial is going to be in the back of the parentheses. So writing the steps with it, it's put the square root of the first term in the front, divide the exponents by 2, put the square root of the second in the back, divide the exponents by 2, is still implied. So I end up with 9 times the quantity 3x plus 2y squared times the quantity 3x minus 2y squared. Then, like everything else, you have to double check your parentheses to make sure you can't factor anymore. In this case, I can't, so my final answer is 9 times the quantity 3x plus 2y squared times the quantity 3x minus 2y squared. I just rewrote it so that it's all in one color and it can be read clearly.